Okay, hi. Uh, good day to you guys. Good morning, actually. So it's good to see you guys. Anybody who shows up here, good to see you. Uh, the subject today, talking about Hmong people being deported back to Laos. I kind of got a message from somebody earlier that would like me to talk about Laos. So anyway, this subject I'm not talking about is kind of related to Laos. So where do the Hmong people in America came from? Okay, they came from Laos, right? All because the Vietnam American conflict in 1950s all the way to 1975. It's called the Indochina War. So because the French, the Vietnamese, the war, because communism influence in Southeast Asia, because America wanted to be the police. America was afraid of communists taking over Southeast Asia. Whatever, because they want to test their weapons. So what I learned, what I understand is that the reason America went to Vietnam for the Vietnam American conflict, number one was opium. It's called the opium war, opium business. Like Air America, in the 40s, 50s, Laos is a place to grow poppies, just like Afghanistan. The weather is perfect to grow opiums, right? So that was number one. And number two is America want to test their new weapons. America want to get rid of their old weapons from World War II. America want to experiment warfare, jungle warfare, uh, because America want to educate a new generation of generals, lieutenants, and so they went. They went. When the French got kicked out of Dien Bien Phu in Vietnam, America went to replace the French, take over the Vietnam French Indochina conflict war. And because Russia had influence over there during that time, America and Russia always competing against each other. Soldiers, military wise, economic, weaponaries. Okay? So Hmong people got involved with the CIA, the secret war in Laos. Like I said, Hmong people, their duty was build up guerrilla units, when American pilots were shot down in the border between Laos and Vietnam, Hmong people were the one to go and rescue these soldiers, these pilots. Search for them, rescue them, take them to safety. And their duty was to guard the towers, communication towers in the highland of Laos, up in the mountains. So their job was to keep guarding this so they can have communication with the F-14, F-16 that were flying from Thailand to Vietnam to bomb Hanoi, the North Vietnamese capital. And then duty number 3 was to sabotage the Ho Chi Minh Trail that coming through Laos into South Vietnam. That was the reason. And, they had a deal with the Americans, CIA, that if this I believe this is what the elders told us, if American pulls back or lose the war, then they will take all the military people to go with them. I didn't think they promised the civilians people, but they promised General Wang Pao and his 3,500 military men and their family to go to the U.S. That was their promise. And if America win the war against, Vietnamese, North Vietnamese, communism, like China and Russia, the Hmong people will have a piece of land to farm, to settle, to raise a family in Laos. So anyway, American, too many Americans died in the conflict. 58,000 soldiers got killed in Vietnam. So LBJ, president at the time, Nixon, Kennedy, 3 presidents in America, they decided to not fight all the way to the end. They got out of Laos, or CIA left. Hmong were left to defend themselves when what? With the weapons American left behind for them. Then starvation, concentration camp, mass murder, massacres, genocide. A lot of fled to Laos, to Thailand. We end up in America. A lot of church, a lot of Catholic church, a lot of Christian church. They were the one that sponsored Hmong people to come to America in the 70s, like 76, 77, 78, all the way to the 90s, even up to like 2005. So now Hmong people are being sent back to Laos. The one that have green card, the one that have violations here, the one that commit a crime here in the U.S., they all be arrested by ICE and be sent back to Laos. So they have an option: either go to Laos or they'll be sent to South America, El Salvador, where the MS-13, all those gangs lived, and to that torturing chamber in South America. So these Hmong people were targeted, arrested, and then sent back to Laos. But, just to let you guys know, I work in this company, right? So yesterday, a co-worker came up to me and said, hey, my brother already arrived in Laos. I was like, what? Your brother? He said, yes, my brother that lives in Michigan. So you guys know there are some Hmong people that live in Michigan, right? In Detroit and Lansing, Michigan. Yeah, and I was like, why? He's like, okay, because my older brother, we used to live in Michigan, and he was younger. He committed auto theft, and he had an accident, and then injured somebody, really bad, and then he was arrested, and he wasn't a citizen at the time, and then later on he was denied his citizenship. So he was just a green card holder. So now he's being sent to Laos, and he arrived. That was yesterday, guys. Yes, 2 days ago. I mean, 2 days ago. So his older brother is being sent to Laos. Now they are they are being held in this facility. Is like a refugee camp in Laos. So, and then another co-worker, he has a older brother, also already been sent to Laos. So as far as I know, there were 16 or the 14 people from Michigan already being sent to Laos. In Minnesota, where I live, like a couple months ago, there were 12 people arrested, put in jail in the facility somewhere, and were ready to be sent to Laos. Uh, a lot of them in California already being sent to Laos. So anyway, these Hmong people, I kind of feel sad for them, but then they did their crime and they were guilty of their crime. So the law is a law. President Trump, you know, signed the law, signed the policy, signed the law to do this to them. So they be sent over there, but guys, it's a sad story. Like I said on this channel, I'm talking about event that happened that I know of, when I part of, when I related to, and scary horror stories. And this is kind of like a scary horror situation for these Hmong people. They ran away from there, and now they be sent back. But here's the thing. So when in 75, when Laos communists, Vietnamese communists, Russia communists, Chinese communists, they took over Southeast Asia, they won. The Hmong people who helped the CIA were considered enemy of the state. That means that you have the same color of our skin. You have the same eye, same hair color. You eat the same food. You talk the same language, but you turn against your own people. You go and take the American side and turn against killing your own people. So when America left, you now the enemy of the state. Every one of you, your family, your descendant are considered enemy of the state. And you should not live in the land. You should not be fed by the land. You should not share the land with the people in the country. You guys see that? This is the mentality of Asian people in Southeast Asia, in Asia alone, even in China. If you turn against your own people and go pick the other side and kill your own people, you will be labeled as enemy of the state. Okay, you have no right to a lot of things. You consider always human. You consider a herd of animals. You guys know that? You think I'm lying, but you guys go talk to some of the Vietnamese. That it's called the boat people, South Vietnamese. So in the 50s, when America got involved with the South Vietnamese, and they had to go to war with the North Vietnamese. You guys probably watch a lot of Vietnamese war movies, Vietnam War movie, like Burger, like was it Hamburger Hill, Charlie Sheen, We Were Soldiers, Mel Gibson, all those stories. No, like the movie Heaven and Earth with Tommy Lee Jones. Okay, those are the three movie like Vietnam movie that I remember watching. That it's pretty what should I say? Pretty intense when you watch it. I'm not talking about like Chuck Norris and Rambo. Rambo one, Chuck Norris, a Mission Impossible. Was it MIA, Mission in Action? Remember those old movie from the '80s with Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone? So these were the Vietnamese when the North, the Viet Cong came to South Vietnam, and a lot of the Vietnamese military family left or killed or abandoned or jumped to this boat and became boat people. You know what happened when let's put it this way. So your father was a military guy. It's a soldier. Was a soldier for the Vietnamese, for the South Vietnamese. And your father, you're a little kid, and your father fought the North Vietnamese. And American left, and your father, when the Viet Minh and Viet Cong came to South Vietnam, and you surrender, your father surrendered, but they took your father and shot him outside in front of you because he was found out he was you know cooperating with the Americans. So they take him outside, shot him at point blank. Now, when he died, the Vietnamese, North Vietnamese, told you, do not bury your father. Do not put any picture, photograph of your father inside your house. We'll let him run outside, let the fly and the maggots finish him up. That's how intense that is. That's how it was like in Vietnam in those days. Okay? Same way with us. Some of our people were part of the Vietnamese, part of the Vietnamese, part of the group. Then some of us was part of the American CIA's secret war in Laos. When America left Laos, we also had the same situation in Laos. Okay? That's why we came to the refugee camp. We became refugee. And when we arrived in America, this is what happened in America, guys. If you're a refugee, America, you were put into like very ghetto area in the city. So like if you're in Providence, Rhode Island, you arrive in Providence, Rhode Island, you were put in the very ghetto, like the project. So you will be living in the project where crime is so high, like 40-50% crime. So if you're put in California, you're put in a crime area. So if you land in Michigan, you were poor, you had no education, you had no job. So your family will be put on welfare. So each family member will get $200 per month plus food stamp. And while that time you will live in the project, the subsidized American government subsidized buildings. So you're mixed up with the other criminal, these other high rate crimes, people that live there in the ghetto. Okay? And then your children grow up and they start committing crime. So as growing up as a little boy, little girl, you're facing uh, a very sad situation. Like you you will connect to criminals, people that already live there in those projects, in those subsidized buildings, and that's why it happened to all these little boy, girl from the refugee, this Hmong refugee that came to the U.S. There's no way they live in a suburban neighborhood where good people live, right? So you had no money, you had no income, you had no job. You had to start from the ghetto, the public housing, the neighborhood where crime is so high. So you commit crime, you become gangster, you start a fight, you learn how to steal, you learn how to disrespect, you learn how to say bad words, you learn how to say things that you're not supposed to say. You learn how to say mother F, the words. Okay? Then you have a conflict with the other minority there or people that live there. So you have a problem. Let's put it this way. I can relate it to a story, right? So uh, in the 90s, early 90s, when I met my wife and we got married, we moved to a place out, but her brother uh, and her brother and his family, they still living in the project, right? In the project, in the public housing, because they were still on welfare, uh, unable to 100% support themselves. So what happened? They live in the public housing. They had neighbors, right? So these neighbor, he had a car. I believe it's a Nissan Datsun, a sporty car, parked in the parking lot, right? So then these two little kids, they are about 6, 7. They came outside with like piece of rock and they scratched his vehicle on the paint on the outside, the door, everywhere. Like they're doing writing, scratching. So he came out, he told them, why you guys doing this? And they cry. So he was tried to ask them which apartment they live, where they from. So they cried, they ran to the apartment, and then their father came out with a baseball bat. And the kid told them that he beat them up, right? The two little kids told their father that my brother-in-law beat them up, which is not true. He only asked them why they doing it, where they from. So they came out. I mean, these families, they're black, black American live in that ghetto place too. So the father came out with a baseball bat, start talking like mother F to him. Why you beat up my kid? And my brother-in-law was like standing there to argue with him. They're about to kill each other, right? At that time, I kind of like finally drove into the parking lot, parked my vehicle, and came out of the car. And then I was like, what's going on, And blah blah blah. They had this thing that they're not listening, so we called the cops to come over. So being that you live in the project, they had a Hmong police, they have a black police, they had a white police. They all came in a squad car, right? And they came out, and then we told them what the situation is. And here's what the black police didn't say anything, okay? But the white policeman, he's like, oh, those are little kids, and they don't know what they're doing. So because you yelled at them, that's why they cry. And then they told their dad that you beat them up, which is wrong, but it's okay. We're here. We'll take care of the matters and don't fight. And the Asian, the Hmong police, he told my brother-in-law, he's like, you know, this is what happened in the ghetto. If you continue living in this poor neighborhood, this public housing, you will always get this kind of treatment. You will always get this problem in your life. So the best thing is work on yourself, save some money, get a job, get out of public support, get out of public housing, go buy a house, live in the suburb, and you won't see this problem. You will not face this again. That was the Hmong guy, Hmong police advice to us, to him, to my brother-in-law. So yes, we took his advice, and a year later, my brother-in-law moved out of the neighborhood, out of the ghetto, out of the public housing, out of the system, go to work, earn money, buy your own house, enjoy your life in the suburbs, just like the white folks, you know. So we did. That was the moment of truth, moment of doing something, the moment to understand that we need to get out of this poor neighborhood. Otherwise, our kid will become poor like us. Otherwise, our kids will become thieves, become burglars, become criminal, becomes rapists, become you know, you know what I mean, imagination gangsters in the ghetto. Yeah, so I'm just sharing a story to you guys. When we came to America as refugees, they'll do that to us. They'll throw us in the neighborhood that has a lot of crime, a lot of gangs, and then you never get out. If you're not wise enough that you need to work hard and get out of there, take your children out of this ghetto place, this public housing, this public support, this gangster alley, this area, yes, your kids will become gangster, will do all this crime, and then this is what happened to them down the road. And you never thought in a million years that America will deported you back to wherever you now belong. So a lot of these people that I told you earlier that was sent to Laos, then they're younger than me. They're probably in their 30s and 40s. So that means they actually came here as a little kid, 6, 7 years old, and they grew up in this neighborhood. That's why they committed this crime. That you know, they were recorded and they had this in the records, and they were denied citizenship. And later on, when they actually realize or grow up, realize or thought of changing their life like we did in the early time, that we need to get out of this public housing, this ghetto area, to be in the suburb, to raise our kid with the good people, this neighborhood, good neighborhood, so we can become like them, right? So it's too late for this young kid that they already committed this crime, and they didn't know that 30 years, 40 years later, they were being deported. you know, and they already built a family. They already moved out to the suburb, already bought a house, already did their crime, pay their fine, and do all their time. But now, because of a mistake you did a long time ago, you no longer qualified to live in the U.S. Okay, but I understand. This is how Donald Trump, our president. I mean, I voted for Donald Trump for a lot of reasons, and I understand his point. Like people had to come here legally. With you gotta pay money. It's all about money. Without money, there's no democracy. So democracy cannot beat money. Money take over democracy, right? So, because of this, the lawyers will have a job to do. All these people that are being, you know, uh, subject to crime or are detained for criminal record and then by ICE, and then all because we got lawyers that needs job. We had to earn some money. Uh, let's say these people that committed crime, they already paid their fine, go to jail, but they had a lot of money. They had a house. They already have a nice, $40,000 car. They have a couple $100,000 in the bank. Suddenly they're being detained and shipped to Laos without anything, and then this money was just confiscated by the ICE or the government. It just lost all of that. They cannot take that with them because they be detained by ICE, you know? And the government can make a lot of money, okay, by taking these people and taking their asset and detain them and confiscate their asset and become part of the government, you know? So I can see a lot of why this is happening, and we can make a lot of money uh, because America is in 37 trillion debt, American debt, 37 trillion. So, all these things going on, it's about money, money, and money. It's not about doing right thing or wrong thing. So, as of now, money will take over democracy. So, America democracy is go down the drain. Okay, uh, that's why it's changing over here because money. And I look at this situation as really sad because these people they grew up in the ghetto and no guidance, no protection, and they commit this crime when they're younger, in their teenage year or early late teens, in their late teens, and they did all of this. Now they build their life up to better themselves. 30 years later, they had this money, couple 100,000 in the bank, have a house, have a nice car, had a family. Now they're being arrested, detained by ICE, and their assets been taken away by the government. They lost everything, and they get to go to another place where they'll be treated like a slave, treated like an animal, beat up to death, whatever. Go to a foreign land, country where they don't speak the language. When they have to start over, no job, unemployment is like 80%, you know, and the government actually took the money and paid the other countries' government to accept them, right? So, like you guys know, in Laos, in the past, Lao government do not want to accept Laotian citizens that live in the U.S. Like green card people don't want to. Lao government didn't want to send them, didn't want to accept them back. But because Donald Trump's pushing for that terror thing, so here's the thing: Laos do some import export products from Laos to the U.S. It's because a lot of Lao people live in the U.S., so they import a lot of stuff from Laos, like cultural clothing, baskets, whatever Lao food, wrong fish, fish sauce, all those things. Rice, we got rice, yeah, cookies, whatever, coffee, Laos textile. So Donald Trump told the Laos people, you better accept these criminals back, otherwise I'm doing no business with you. So Laos got scared. Now Laos opened their country, say, yeah, we'll take them back. And then Donald Trump, the government, U.S. government, they give a amount of cash, whatever money, to Laos temporarily for each person that are sent back. They give this money to Laos government to build a facility to hold them hostage, to beat them up, to whatever that they will do to them. And so they get to send them back. So now Laos cannot do anything. Laos have to accept them back. And that's why these things happening. You see on the news. Every other days, couple Hmong people were arrested and sent back to Laos. Okay, but all because American and America, whatever, America and do that to the people. And you know, uh, when you think about it, it's not fair, right? Because they went over there. The Hmong people used to live peacefully as nomadic people living in Laos. They never have any. They didn't know how to kill people. They didn't know how to hunt. They didn't know how to, hold a rifle, and didn't have no weapons until American went over there, and the CIA taught them how to murder, taught them how to kill, taught them how to be criminals. Brought them here to the U.S., put them in the ghetto place, and they learn how to be criminals, commit crime, do all these bad things, how to be gangsters. So now, Thai pass and these things that they do are not good, and they had to be sent back. So I believe these people that were sent back, they were not born in Laos. Majority were not born in Laos. They were born in the refugee camp in Thailand. Okay, technically, correctly, they should be sent to Thailand, not Laos. But anyway, like Donald Trump said, if you don't want to go to Laos, we got El Salvador. Okay, your parents came from Laos, you Laotian. Okay, you were born in the camp in Thailand, you still Laotian, because you guys know in Thailand, even though you're born in the country of Thailand, you're not Thai citizen. If your parents are not Thai citizen, and you came from Laos or you came from the U.S. and you're born in Thailand, you're not a Thai citizen. That's what Thailand is. You're not a citizen there. It's not like in the U.S. If you're born in the U.S., you're automatically U.S. citizens. Okay? So Southeast Asia is a little different. Thailand's different. But it's I kind of want to talk about this because so you guys understand the Hmong people. We do not just come here for economy reason. Okay, we came here in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s because we were labeled as enemy of the state to the Viet Minh, to the Vietnamese, to the Pathet Lao, to the Laotian communists, to the Chinese people. Okay? It's because American CIA came to Laos and turned us to be guerrilla soldiers, turned Hmong people to be murdered, train Hmong people how to kill other people, turn Hmong people to turn against their own people, same color skin, same color hair, same clothes that they wear. Okay? And that's how they became enemy of the state to its own people in that time. And I think all this happened not just to the Hmong people, also to other minority people that live in Laos, to other groups of people in other countries, right? Just like Afghanistan, their own people turn against their own people, right? So the Afghanistan refugees came here, but now some of them had to be sent back to Afghanistan, right? Iraq, a lot of Iraqi people were also came here as refugees during the Gulf War, Desert Storm, 1990, 1989, 1990. The Bush Senior's conflict with Saddam Hussein when they invaded Kuwait, and Bush Jr. when sent the American Desert Storm, right? During that time, some of the Kurdish people uh, were fighting for the Americans, and then American left, and then Saddam Hussein took over Iraq, and these Kurdish people became enemy of Iraq, and they became refugee, and some of them actually came to the U.S. So all these American interest, as you guys know, it's all American interest. So anyway, refugee came to the U.S. and they all this because they were poor. They were poor. They were thrown in to live with the poor people in the neighborhood, and they're fed with welfare, food stamps, and public housing. So they became they're not able to move out of there. So by the time their parents or some of them got out of there, some of them already became criminals, and now they had to pay their price, and they had to be deported. Okay, they're not like today's people that came here for economy reason. Okay, for better life, like the people from South America line up at the border. They are people that just run away from their country because economy is so bad up there. They don't want to live there. They came here. But Hmong people, I mean, some of the Hmong people came here during like after 2010, 2020, 25, the last 15 years. A lot of these Hmong people came here in according like by visa, by visiting their relative, by coming here for a job visa, and they overstayed their visa and they ran off to, live. They're hiding. Yes, these people should be sent back, right? Because they're here for economy reason. But the one that came here with their parents from the refugee camp for helping the American during the Vietnam War, and they came here as a little kid, born in Thailand in the camp, but then they came here and they were thrown to live with the, you know, poor neighborhood in area where they had no chance of becoming a good person, and there was no program to help them out. And suddenly they became teenagers. They already commit a crime or do something illegal. So these people should be, you know, given a chance. I think that is what I think. But I'm not the president of the United States. I'm not the government. So what can you do? You are no. You are the. You are a person with no country. You are a group of people that have no country. Either you go to Laos, that's not your country. You're immigrant from China to Laos. You go to Thailand, you're immigrant. You go to America, you're immigrant. So you don't really have your own country. So really, the Hmong people are just like the gypsy, because our country was taken over by the Chinese a couple thousand years ago in China during the Warring States, right? Mongolia was part of our homeland, but the Yellow River, the basin, the Yangtze River base, it was our part of our homeland country many years, 1,000 years ago. But because the Han Chinese, there was the war. The Qing Dynasty, there was the one nation, and all these little countries that we used to live became part of China, right? So we are immigrants. We migrate south and end up in Laos, end up in Vietnam, end up in Thailand, end up in Myanmar, end up in America today. So we're just a hooker. The Hmong people is like a hooker. Everybody can use them, beat them, torture them, harass them, kick them, deny them, uh, abuse them any way they want. Decide their fate, decide their death. Hmong people are just like a group of animals. Any people, other people can kill anytime they want. Just like the ghosts in the mountain. When America left, many of them went to the jungle, live up in the jungle for the last 50 years. Thousands and thousands of them, I believe it was like 20,000 of them, will hunt like animals in the jungle of Laos. Okay, they will hunt, and hunt, and how sad it is that their kids that were born in the jungle never saw, had never eaten rice. And you guys saw that some of the journalists went to the jungle to see these people in hiding spots. And when the journalists gave them rice to eat, and the little kids don't know, they do not know what rice is. They don't know what rice is when the journalists were there. On those video they call it kill like animals or hunt like animals. Okay? But now, anyway, all of them die out because these days there are no more people live in the jungles. From the era 1950, up to 1975, up till 2016, they all died out. They be killed, all of them. About 20,000 people that fled to the jungle. No longer in the jungle. Okay? So the ghosts in the mountain, they are now the ghosts in the mountains of Laos. So it's a very sad situation for these people that were deported, and Hmong people kind of keep to themselves this little world, so you don't see them on the news just like the South American, like the Mexicans, that There are all these protests. And like Hmong people, because we're a hooker, we're just like a hooker, like a prostitute. And they can abuse us anyways. That's why you don't see them come out in the news protesting, like the Mexicans, the Latinos, the South Americans. You don't see them show up. And you don't see no Asian people complain about it because we learn how to swallow it. We were abused by, you know, many group of people. We're abused by the superpower. We're abused by the strong people. So, what can you do, right? What can you do? You are a group of gypsy living in somebody's country. If they tell you to die, you die. If they tell you to leave, you leave, right? If you don't leave, they'll beat you up. They'll lock you up. They'll detain you. They'll take you to prison. Uh, they'll drop their ship drop you to South America. You'll be dealing with MS-13. You're dealing with the drug cartel. You're dealing with all that. Which do you prefer? Do you go back to Laos? Do you go willingly, or do you wait till them arrest you, wait till ICE knock on your door, put a handcuff, zig tie on your wrist, whichever do you want to do? Okay. So anyway, for me, I have never committed a crime in the U.S. I came here as a teenager. I learned the language, as much as I could. When I turned 18, I knew that I didn't want to go to college because I need to, do something to feed myself. So I went straight to work. All this since 1990. Since in 1990, I've been working all till this year, up till now. Get out of the ghetto place. I was never welfare. When I first came here, I landed in, California, and I landed in 1986, the fall 1985, 1986. Took a job as a newspaper delivery. The paper boy, I delivered the Fresno Bee because I live in Fresno for 3 years. So 85, 86, 86, 87, 89, 1990, I finished up high school, right? I moved up north, started working ever since. Graduated from high school ever since. Stay away from trouble, stay from drugs, stay from alcohol, stay from criminal area, like crime areas, stay from people, retain myself, be a peacemaker, stay away from fight. When you see a fight, walk away, avoid, illegal activities. That's where I am today, guys. And I feel sorry for those kids that did a lot of crime in the old days and now they can't become citizens. Uh, I in I am a naturalized citizen since 1994. In the summer of 1994, July 1994. So imagine I came here in 85, 90. That's 5 years later. 94, that was 9 years later, became citizen, U.S. citizen, naturalized. So glad I did so early in my time, and glad that nobody taught me, but I realized myself in those young age, in those days, in my young age, my younger age, in those days that I need to become a U.S. citizen. I need to belong here in this country. I need to be part of this world. I need to change my living style. I need to change my culture. I need to become like the West, this country. So I don't, you know. So anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me on this stream. It's been an hour, so I'll be talking too long here, but I am so appreciated and thank you for joining me here on this section, and about deportation, right? So anyway, what do you guys think about Donald Trump and Putin? They met in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. Uh, is it a hoax? Is you know? I think it's a positive thing, but looks like they had. I think Putin kind of dominated the situation, so we'll just leave it at that, right? We'll see what is gonna happen down the next couple months. Anyway, so I want to thank you again. We'll see you next time in another life. Okay? Bye bye.